All right, we're on a time limit. Let's go.
All right, I'll do this very quickly. Welcome to We're Not Helpful, a podcast about thoughts and opinions of books, recommendations. I'm Eloise. Joining us today is Brayden Julian. Hello.
Hello, hello. Talking very quickly today, only
Wait,
because
Hello.
Julian mentioned earlier that he's on a time limit because I think not a strict time limit, but what, you're home alone with your kids tonight?
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
And if movies have taught us anything, it's that if you're home alone, there will be burglars and hijinks will ensue. So I'm looking forward to
Mm,
that.
just happening at all in the background as we're
of
trying
course.
to talk.
Yeah.
Keep it down, kids. They're being murdered in the background. No, that's terrible.
Home Alone, you're the fun, family-friendly Christmas movie, and you immediately go to murder.
Well, they would have died. Half those traps would have killed them. We're already talking about things getting away from books, where Julieta specifically asked that we keep it snappy tonight. All right.
We are the epitome of
Um,
professionalism here.
We are. Okay. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. Welcome to We're Not Helpful. Sorry, we're not being helpful to you, Julie.
We're keeping with our namesake.
Excellent. Let's start off with what have we been reading this week, gentlemen? I have a couple of things that I wanted to quickly talk about, quick recommendations.
Okay, well, you go first. You're already prepared.
Excellent. Well, for those playing along on YouTube, I'll pop my little books up so that you can see them. I have been reading and have finished by Benjamin Stevenson. Everyone in my family has killed someone, and everyone on this train is a suspect. So they
That's because they've
are.
all killed someone.
Yes, he threw the book at the person, and they died. No.
I mean, that's spoilers in the title right there. Just if they're in his family, then they've killed someone. Case closed.
Yes, well, that is the premise of the book.
Okay, done. Moving on.
So, everyone in my family has killed someone. It's very interesting, quirky, whodunit murder mystery, and
Everyone in the family, apparently.
everyone in the family apparently, but not okay. No, not necessarily murdered, but killed. And so, yes, that's
Is
slight.
there a legal distinction between killed and murdered? Yeah,
Yes.
I guess yes.
Yes,
There. Now
there
that
are.
I've thought about it for half a second, of course there is.
So there's like manslaughter, there is like negligence that results in someone's death, or like by accident, like you kill someone
Yes.
in a complete accident, like for example, someone just walks out in front of your car and you have no time to stop. That's not your fault. Yes, so there's a lot of different perspectives in the book. It's very quirky, it's a bit funny. It had me guessing all the way to the end, although I did kind of guess how it would end. Everyone on this train is a suspect is a sequel to the first book. You don't necessarily have to have read the first one because the author does go over some of the things that does occur, but he also makes this story kind of unique in itself so that you don't really need to have read it. Although I do recommend that you do. I actually enjoyed this more than the first book. It's very funny. It really did have me guessing all the way to the end. I was absolutely 100 convinced I knew who did it, and it was not that person. So, yes.
Well, that's just poor foreshadowing on the writer's part then. That's not your fault.
Don't think that's how murder mysteries work. But in any case, they're very cleverly written in that the books are written from the perspective of someone who is an author, but it's not Benjamin Stevenson. He has a character in the book who is the character writing the book, if that makes sense, but he's a fictional character.
Do you think it's a self-insert character?
I don't know. I don't believe so. Benjamin is apparently a comedian. I definitely don't think his entire family have killed someone.
Hey, that you know of. Like, how close are you really to Benjamin?
And extremely close. He's my best
What
friend.
I'm getting from this is that this entire book really is some kind of thinly veiled confession by this author that
Yes,
he and his family are, in fact, serial killers.
maybe that's what it actually is.
It's O.J. Simpson's If I Did It All Over Again.
If he did it. Not guilty, I'll have you know.
That's lame. But in any case, so the second book, it's set on the Garn, which is interesting, and he even makes a point.
Is he an Australian author?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
For some reason in my head you were saying all this and I pictured some British guy.
No, No.
I had no idea.
Um,
Sorry, I don't know if I just missed it if you mentioned it. I had no idea he was an Australian author.
yes, and the books are both set in Australia as well. So the first
Okay.
book is set in New South Wales, and this one is set on the Garns. So it starts in like, where is it? Like up north in Northern Territory,
Is that
Darwin.
Adelaide to Darwin, or other way
Well,
around?
it starts in Darwin and it's heading to Adelaide in this
Okay.
particular book. So they go through Alice Springs and
Yep.
yes, and he even makes reference to Agatha Christie a little bit, joking about how, oh, I'm pretty sure they've already done that story before. So he's a bit self-deprecating, and it's just really unique in that he actually does set out where things are going to occur right at the beginning. So he's just, so like, for example, in the first book, he says, oh, if anyone wants to know where all of the deaths take place, it's on this page, this page, this page, and this page. But then he distracts you so that you forget what page you're on. And then all of a sudden, don't forget what page we're on. I'm like, okay, very clever. Yes, I like it. Thoroughly recommend. I'd say first book I'll give 3.5 stars out of 5. Second book I'll give 4 out of 5. I'll be generous. So very much enjoyed that. I'm now on to The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman.
Yes, that has just been adapted into a TV show.
It is currently being filmed.
Yes, I did see that.
Starring the delightfully beautiful David Tennant. So, of course, that's why I've decided to prepare myself in reading that book, because I must consume everything David Tennant.
I think Ben Kingsley is in it too.
He is, yes. So heaps of people. Ben Kingsley, Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Tom Ellis. So if you're a Lucifer fan, all the handsome people, yes.
Yeah, it's quite a stacked cast.
It is. So I'm looking forward to that one once it comes out. David Tennant's also just finished filming Rivals, which is also based on a book as well, which will be coming out to Disney Plus later on in the year. So it's the year of David Tennant. And everything is lovely.
Excellent.
So what have you guys been reading?
I finished Legends and Lattes. We discussed that on our last episode with Annie. Finished that the other day. Great. Loved it. Such low stakes, cozy fiction. I enjoyed it so much I picked up another cozy fiction book called Before the Coffee Gets Cold.
Ooh.
I need to look this up because it's a Japanese Japanese author, and I'm gonna butcher this name, Toshikazu Kawaguchi.
All right.
And it's a very short book, actually based on a play written by the same person, and it's essentially set in a little cafe in Tokyo, where the quirk of this cafe is that there is a chair you can sit in that sends you back in time.
Oh, that sounds like a really awesome story.
Yeah, but there's a few rules, like you can't leave the chair once you go back in time.
So no killing Hitler, unless you
no
can take
killing Hitler. No, no killing Hitler. You can't leave the chair. You can't change the present. You can only interact with people that have visited the cafe previously, and you have to return to the present before your coffee gets cold.
Oh, what happens? What are the consequences if you leave the chair or if your coffee gets cold?
I will leave that for you to find out.
Excellent.
There are consequences, yes.
Oh, okay. But good. It's not just nebulous. Just don't do this, and then there's no consequences.
Yes. The idea is there's a cup of coffee, and you drink that when you're ready to return to the present. But you have to finish it before it gets cold.
Okay.
That's the rules, and it's essentially just about the people that visit the cafe and their lives, and they each have a specific reason for wanting to travel back in time for different things. Like there's one couple whose husband is suffering from Alzheimer's, and she wants to go back to a time when he remembered her. Aww. It's actually very sad part of the story.
Yeah.
I'm only not even halfway through it, but it's very short. It's only about 200 pages long. It's a very short book, and there are, I believe, 3 sequels to it. So yeah, that's been really good. But I did also order Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is the prequel to Legends and Lattes. So I'm really looking forward to reading that.
Excellent. Julian, what have you been up to reading this week?
I am reading a collection of short stories by Stephen King, his latest
Knew you'd get to that one.
collection called You Like It Darker, which is, I'm sensing a theme here because 3 out of the last 4 of his short story collections have been around this concept of dark. It was Just After Sunset, Full Dark, No Stars, and now You Like It Darker. So
Are
I'm
they
sensing
like
quite a theme, and they are quite dark
emotionally
stories.
or
Well, I've only read one so far. It was quite a long one in this one. It was actually quite a nice one. It was kind of like the light side of the Tommyknockers. If you've ever read the Tommyknockers, it's a very dark and disturbing novel, and this was kind of like the same concept of that and Dreamcatcher, but much more light and nice. But his last set of short stories were very. That's the one where they had the 1922 Brayton film that you
Yes.
saw. There's
Yes,
there's not a single pleasant story in that.
Have you watched that
collection.
movie?
I have not yet watched that movie. I
It's
understand it's really good,
it is really good, yeah. Thomas Jane.
but the story is so nasty.
If the story's anything like the movie, it's not a fun time for anyone in that story.
No. But this one's an interesting one. The first story I read is about aliens that gift these two men the power to, I guess, realize their hidden talents and
Okay, interesting.
move forward with that.
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting idea.
And do they use them for good or?
They do, yes. One becomes an
good.
author and one becomes a painter.
Oh, nice.
That's okay.
Because they saved the life of another alien. So.
Oh, okay.
That went a lot more wholesome than I thought it would.
I honestly.
It's strangely wholesome, given the title
Stephen
of the
King,
collection.
I half expected that it would be that they'd use their powers for evil.
Yeah.
Or something.
No, not this time.
Oh, well, that's nice.
You mentioned Stephen King has kind of gotten dark. I know Stephen King's always kind of been dark, but when you mentioned that he seems to be getting darker lately, like the thought immediately popped in my head, just like, is King okay right now? Or is he going through some stuff?
Stephen, are you all right? You okay, Stephen?
Judging by his Twitter, I think he's doing great. But
okay, good.
Since he had the car accident, was it 20-something years ago, or car accident, he was hit by a van. When he goes dark, he goes very dark, I think. And that's something that's been in his writing the last 20 so years. No, I think he's great. I think it's more of a statement on the times at the moment. Because if you've never read Stephen King, he is very political in his writing and famously very much dislikes the Republican Party right now. And Elon Musk. Yeah. There's a little Twitter battle going on between those two at the moment.
I would argue.
I love that he's still on
the
Twitter.
The thing is, Elon
arguing.
Musk loves him so much. Elon loves him so much and just wants nothing more than for King to like him, and he just hates him so much.
So weird. It's such a bizarre dynamic.
I don't know much about King's personal life. Is King the type of person that would continually just stay on Twitter knowing that he's not going to ban me, but I'm not going to be his friend?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He will stay on Twitter until they kick him off, purposely pushing everyone's buttons.
Good on King.
Because what are they going to do with him? They're going to cancel him?
If King was going to be cancelled, he would have been cancelled by now. I think
cancel the King.
He would have been cancelled after it came out.
Yeah. I think if it was written now, people would be like, what the fuck is this?
Do you think King has entered his I don't give a fuck
Most
stage?
Most of his books were written now would be that way.
Yeah, do you think King
I think he entered that about 15 years ago.
He's like, I'm rich enough. He could have retired from writing decades ago and still be living quite comfortably.
Oh yeah, somewhere around the mid or early 90s, I think he said he'd had enough money to stop writing forever.
I mean, that's a testament to how much he probably loves writing then.
I should read some Stephen King then. I've written
Yeah.
a total of maybe 3 of his read a total of 3 of his stories.
You heard it here first, folks. Eloise ghostwrites Stephen King's book.
Don't put that out there.
Oh, it's in.
Okay. Oh,
There's
dear.
literally nothing I can do to delete it.
No. Nothing at all.
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
All right, shall we get to some listener mail?
We shall.
We have a
Yes,
few
let's.
we have a few backlog because we missed a week and then we had an interview with Annie, who was delightful. We're still in touch. If you haven't listened to her podcast yet, my episode reading the music of Eric Zahn came up a couple of weeks ago now. It was just after we did our interview with her. So
He's back.
Brayton, we lost you for a couple of seconds there.
Oh,
I don't
did
know
I?
if you want to. Yeah.
sorry, what did you hear me say last?
We heard you say if you haven't listened to her episode, my episode was, and then it
Okay,
just
my episode, yes. So if you haven't listened to Annie's show yet, my episode came up a couple of weeks ago. Music of Eric Zahn. I really enjoyed recording it, and let me know if you enjoyed listening to it, I guess. Am I still here?
Yes, you're still
Yes.
here.
Excellent, good. Just checking. All right. Now we have a couple of emails here from Sylvia, as we always do. Lovely to hear
Hello,
from her.
Sylvia.
She did send an email. I was reading back through, and I apologize for this, Sylvia. I was reading back through an email you sent many weeks ago now, and for the life of me, I could not remember the context of what we had talked about and what you were referring to.
Oh dear.
I think it was in relation to Moby Dick, and we had asked whether people actually spoke the way that they did back then.
Oh, the way that the prose was set. I think
Yeah,
I have a feeling that has been addressed where
maybe.
it was very much not the way that people spoke, if
Yeah.
I remember
Her
correctly.
her email is essentially confirming that, yeah, people didn't speak that way. It was more
Okay.
just artistic license and the standards of what you would call like the writing styles of the times.
Yeah.
Because if people wrote,
With Shakespeare, people didn't
Yeah,
really talk
exactly.
that way.
yeah, exactly right. And if we, if books or movies were 100% realistic in terms of dialogue, they would not be very good.
No, when you think
No.
about it, like even now, what people don't speak the way that they speak in movies. Like people don't give great big impassioned speeches and declarations the way that they do. That's all just for show, really.
People don't go around monologuing.
No.
I do.
Okay,
you
yeah,
don't?
some people do. Yeah, my
I
bad.
talk
But to
aside all the
myself.
time. Ah, yes, I'm going to destroy them.
I suppose for me, technically, it would be soliloquying, since I only do it to myself.
Oh
Hmm.
no.
Yeah. Anyway, so Sylvia says her topic is assortment. Hi, folks. Loved to listen to the last episode of your podcast. It was an awesome crossover between two of my favorites. I enjoyed the Doctor Who episode too.
Yay.
I have some strong opinions on Chibnall's run, though I'm tentatively optimistic with the new RTD run. RTD being Russell T Davies, who just announced a new Doctor Who spin-off. Did you see that, Eloise?
Yes, so there's a couple in the works. So there's like Unit, and then there's something to do with
The battle between the land and sea or something like
Yes,
that.
with
Which
the
I
Sea
hate. I hate the
Devils.
title.
The Sea Devils are in it, and Martha Jones apparently is in it, and a couple of people.
The woman that plays Kate Lethbridge Stewart, I believe, is
Yes.
confirmed cast.
uh,
I'm sure it'll be great. I hope it's great. I just hate the title. Sorry.
I saw an Instagram post about it today. And
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
Excited, but not like. I'll watch it when it comes out. I'm not like.
yeah, I think
fully-
it's like a 5-episode limited series, so it's
Hmm.
not going to be like a long-running thing. But she goes on to say, but I'm glad I still have plenty of classic Who to watch. I was sad to hear Eloise is sick. I wish her a speedy recovery, a cozy blanket, and a good hot cocoa.
Oh, thank you.
And
Yes,
there
it
is a
took me
there is a
quite
love
while.
heart. There's a love heart emoji there too.
Oh, well, thank you, Sylvia. Yes, I am finally on the mend. I finally have my voice back properly. I feel like I'm not horribly congested and attempting to clear my throat all the time. COVID is terrible. Get vaccinated if you haven't been vaccinated. It kept me alive. I'm still 100% convinced the first time I caught COVID back in 2022, if I hadn't been triple vaccinated, I would have died. Because I was very, very ill, and I was very sick again this time around, unfortunately. So, hooray for human bodies! They're dumb. Can I have a new one, please?
Yes. Okay, next, about Lovecraft.
Ooh.
Love me some Lovecraft and love some
Yes.
discussion about Lovecraft.
Mm-hmm.
I love many of his work. That was me, not her, sorry.
Okay.
Just clarify.
Sure.
I love many of his works, but he was terrified of literally everything.
He was.
And that really comes across in his writing. That really does. His racism came from deeply rooted fears, specifically fears of insanity as a genetical problem. His father went mad and died in an asylum, and it's unclear if he understood what was the cause. Yes, I had forgotten that mental illness ran very strong in his family.
Oh.
Inbreeding causing degeneration and degradation, and in general anything that was outside his doorstep and or was different from himself. From 1930s on, his views changed somewhat, becoming more moderate, socialist-leaning, and more accepting of other races and cultures. He even praised and I'm going to say this wrong, Quebecois? Oh my goodness.
People from Quebec, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm going to say it wrong. And First Nations in his trip to Canada.
Okay.
He still disapproved of mixing and thought cultures and races should stay with their own, separated from others. He was intensely scared of doctors to the point he didn't want to see any when he started to have health issues. This ultimately led to his death from cancer and in great pain.
Oh.
My point is, Lovecraft wasn't so much a product of his time, but the specifics of his upbringings, his personal history, and his family.
You know what? It's kind of, sorry to interrupt. It's kind of interesting because it's like, oh, I feel like he'd fit right in modern day America still.
Yeah, Lovecraft is a very interesting character. Like completely, it's hard because it's like, yes, he was the product of his upbringing, but it doesn't mean he was still a good person in some aspects of his life. But still, if we're talking specifically just writing, yeah, some of his writing is definitely very problematic, but a lot of it is brilliant as well.
Yes.
Like without Lovecraft, there would probably be no Stephen King.
No, like it would have such a huge knock-on effect in terms of the horror genre, like as we know it today. I think genres are always going to evolve in a particular way, but we would be in a completely separate timeline. It would have evolved from someone else, but we wouldn't have the same people that we know being like the main names in that genre, essentially. So.
And I think one thing that's come across is the idea that Lovecraft put forward the idea that humans, not just as an individual, but as a species, are completely irrelevant to the greater scheme of things. And I think that is something that in this very tumultuous world where like you're feeling, I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely been going through like this feeling of like my life is out of my control. And that is a lot of the feelings that Lovecraft brings up in his books, especially if you read things like At the Mountains of Madness and The Call of Cthulhu. The idea that humans are ants to the grand scheme of things. And that is, when you really think about it, absolutely terrifying.
Yes. And it's why I just find the way that we behave in terms of racism towards other people, like the screaming and the carrying on and the fear against the other, is so pointless and useless.
Absolutely.
But because we are ants in the grand scheme of the universe. So why are we wasting our time yelling about border crossings? I don't know.
Cthulhu just needs to hurry up.
Be good, be nice, be kind, help each other. We're all people, for goodness sake.
Yep. She says, I thought it would be good to give some context and some nuance to the conversation. Also, I love history and this was a good excuse. Anyways, hope everything goes well on your side of the world. Have a lovely day. Best wishes, Sylvia.
Thank you, Sylvia, once again for writing.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Lovely email, as always.
And if we have said anything wrong or you want to correct us about Lovecraft, we are not historians. I'm just going off the little bits that I've kind of read. She did send a follow-up again. Said, sorry for the double email. I forgot to mention, I agree with leaving questionable parts in with a warning.
Ah, excellent.
It is better to leave things as they were created or written and generate a conversation around it rather than cropping it out and pretending it doesn't exist. Every time period has its questionable things and people, and it's impossible to learn and evolve if we don't acknowledge the bad and take on the good. I think we kind of just covered that with that brief discussion around Lovecraft's clear racism in his stories, that absolutely problematic. It wouldn't and shouldn't fly. Even back then it shouldn't have, but it just definitely now we can see how problematic it was. But kind of separating the art from the artist a little bit there, which is difficult to do considering the trend that some, not mentioning any names, famous authors have gone down recently.
Yeah.
But the question becomes then, it's much, not the question, I think it's much easier to separate art from artist when the artist has been dead for nearly 100 years at this point, compared to someone that's still living.
Yes, especially when certain people double down on their opinions when we are desperately saying maybe you need to think of a different point of view.
Yes. But anyway, that's a different topic. If people want that episode, we can do it.
No one wants
but that might be, yep. But here is a follow-up for you two.
Okay.
Unrelated. When are you lot going to talk about The Great Gatsby?
No, we're not.
Moby Dick had its moment in the spotlight. Why not The Great Gatsby?
You know, I'm going to leave that one to Julian. I've done my bit. It's his turn to do that now.
I am more than willing to make that episode happen.
Good, excellent. Julian, you write an essay and we shall be here when you deliver it. Thank you. Please and thank you.
If you want an episode on The Great Gatsby, prepared for just 2 hours of me ranting about the sheer uselessness of that entire story.
I want to hear it. I'll be here with my popcorn.
Yep, I will. Okay, if we want to make this happen, I will read The Great Gatsby and we will have a conversation.
Oh, does that mean I have to reread it? I read it in high school. I don't really remember much.
Look up the Wikipedia.
Can I watch the film? It's quicker.
It's not a long book, is it?
It's not.
No.
It really isn't. It probably would actually be quite a very quick and easy read. But I have so many other things to be
easy is debatable, but a quick read.
Okay.
I will mention another podcast that I have recommended to both of you before that you really should get to. Hello from the Magic Tavern.
Yes, you have. Yep.
Yes. They actually did a book club many series ago, and the book they chose was The Great Gatsby.
Oh.
And they seem to enjoy it, although in the context of the story, it is set in a fictional land where one of the people is a wizard and one of them is a shapeshifter that more often than not takes the form of a badger. And one of them is a human from Earth that fell through a dimensional portal randomly. But the running joke through many episodes afterwards is the wizard has no idea what a snub-nosed motorboat is and keeps asking what the hell is a snub-nosed motorboat just randomly throughout other episodes.
This is why I don't want to start listening to it now, because I feel like I'm going to miss out on 700 episodes worth of context.
Start from episode 1. That's what I did.
Oh, okay.
only took me a year to catch up at that point, but they'd only done 2 seasons by that point. They're now on to season 5? All
right.
4
well,
or
some
5?
of my other podcasts run out. I might get onto that one.
All right. Anyway, another email. This will be a good one for you, Julian.
Okay.
Some mentions of some stuff here. This is from Isabella Harbour, who wrote in many weeks ago, and it's good to hear from you again, Isabella.
Hello, Isabella.
Yeah, I did mention, I think we have quite a backlog of emails.
Hooray, we have emails.
Yeah, that's great. Just, hi, Brayton. Yay, just to me.
Oh, fine.
Oh, then why did you include me in this?
Oh, you'll see. Firstly, let me say I am so sorry for your loss. Just devastating that someone so young could lose their life. That is obviously a reference to a few podcasts ago. You can go back and listen to that if you so desire. Thank you for talking about it on the podcast. My father passed away in May 2021, and with the North Korean COVID lockdowns here in Melbourne and going through a divorce at the time, I never felt I grieved properly. Having you talk about your brother helped me with that. Oh, well, that's Isabella, good. I'm so glad that talking about it, and I'm so glad talking about it helped you in any way that you could, any way that I could,
Mm,
sorry. Because I am such a big believer in that there shouldn't be a stigma around mental health.
mm,
And I think
Mm.
society is slowly getting there. And I think
yes.
talking
Slowly.
about it, yeah, I think talking about it is so important. And I think more people need to do that.
Mm.
And I will put a caveat here that her opinions about the North Korean COVID lockdowns are
Oh,
hers and hers alone. And no matter what your opinions on those were, this is not the place to start that argument.
yeah.
So don't
Look,
don't come for her or us or anything.
I'll put in a caveat as well. Like, if people aren't aware how lockdown occurred in Australia during
Oh
the
yeah.
beginning of the
Context is very
COVID
important.
pandemic, we obviously, Australia as a whole was very strict in terms of our lockdowns, but the state to state here, and like we have 7 states and territories, all had slightly different rules. Victoria's were the most, I don't know, strict, harsh
Yeah.
maybe. Let's remember it was a moment in time. We didn't know how things were going to evolve. Everything was very scary. I already mentioned earlier, I almost died.
Mm.
And Dan Andrews, who was the Premier of Victoria at the time, like, copped a lot of flack in the media. And I think the way it was presented in the media in Victoria, it was very much, people who were there felt it more than they did throughout the rest of Australia, because we certainly didn't get as much coverage here about what was going on compared to what people in it must have been feeling like. So yeah, it probably did feel very, very restrictive and militant at the time. And it was a very difficult time. Like, you were talking about having to be in 3 weeks quarantine in a hotel if you were coming from interstate or overseas, and like the amount of time that you had to spend at home. You couldn't move around the way other people did. And obviously our laws here were vastly different from everywhere else in the world as well. So yeah, it was definitely a moment in time, and everyone felt differently about it, and everyone's opinions, are different, and you might agree or disagree, but yeah, don't, like, as I mentioned before, we are ants in the universe.
Yes.
Be kind to people, please.
Yes.
That's all I'll say.
All right. I also want to send a long overdue thank you for reading my email on the podcast. It was so much fun to hear you guys discuss it. I'm a little intimidated by Julian's suggestion that we have a conversation about the early films of Christian Slater, as I don't think I've watched any of them since they came out.
Aw. Don't feel intimidated. He's not an intimidated person.
Hey, but it's a good excuse to go back and rewatch some of his earlier films.
It is.
I was also oblivious to Heathers becoming a whole thing with a musical and a series. I gotta
Yeah.
say, it seems wrong.
Yeah, don't even bother with them. Like, just ignore that part of it.
Look, American Psycho became a musical. There's a lot of things inappropriate that are musicals now.
Just random topic. If you want a good YouTube channel to watch about musical theatre, there's one called Wait in the Wings that delves into the history of musicals, whether good or bad. A really good one to start with is just the absolute disaster that was the Spider-Man U2 musical.
Yes, I thought that sounded familiar. I have seen that.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic episode. And man,
Yes.
that musical, holy crap.
Yeah,
Everything that you could do wrong, they did wrong.
it was,
Oh,
yeah.
terrible.
But anyway, yeah, really, just side note, really good channel if you're into musical theatre. He goes through both the successes and the failures. I think there's an episode on the Carrie musical, actually.
Mm.
Did you know there was a Carrie musical, Julian?
I did, yeah.
There you go. There's a whole episode about it. You can go and watch. Where are we? I was very happy to see Christian Slater in Mr. Robot, however, and more recently as the sinister milkman in Unfrosted. Maybe I will go back and watch his early films again.
He's also in Dr. Death. He's very good in that. Him and Alec Baldwin both. And Joshua Jackson, amazing as Dr. Death. Quite a
He's-
turn for him.
He's come a long way from that little boy that captained a underdog ice hockey team to victory.
Yeah. Yeah. And he shunned the new series. Well, he didn't. It's just a timing issue.
Yeah. Never watched the second season. Once Emilio Estevez kind of left for reasons, I kind of lost interest.
Go back and watch Pump Up the Volume. It's a great Christian Slater film. He runs a pirate radio station for teenagers.
Oh.
Okay.
Hmm.
There you go. You've got a recommendation, Isabella.
I also can't go past Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Yeah.
Oh,
Great
I
film.
don't understand
yeah.
the hate for that movie. Oh, he doesn't talk with him. Who gives a fuck? If that's your problem with that film, you've got issues. It's
I
a
will
great
argue
adventure.
it's a great Robin Hood film. I do love it. It's like if it's one of those films where if it's on television, I'm like, yeah, Robin Hood, yeah,
Absolutely.
this on.
All right. How much of that is Alan Rickman, though?
At
A
least
fair portion.
90%.
You say if anyone was cast except Alan Rickman in that role, I don't think you'd be having this conversation.
No, if Alan Rickman was not chewing the scenery in that film, it would not be as good as it is.
I did hear people on Reddit whinging that Kevin Costner takes the role so seriously. I'm like, did we watch the same movie? I don't think he did at all.
No.
Anyway.
She just concludes, this seems an email of two extremes, but I'm not a writer, so I don't know how to fix that. I'm off to listen to your latest episode as I forbid myself from listening before I wrote this email. Regards, Isabella.
Oh, thank you, Isabella.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Drop a line in anytime. You can always come and speak to Julian about Christian Slater.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or anything else you want.
And our final email from our backlog from a little guy we know, Adrian Woodward.
Hey,
I
Adrian.
don't think he'll appreciate that little part.
All right. What did I say? Little? I can't even remember what I just said.
Called him a little man.
A little man.
Oh, little. Okay. My apologies, Adrian. Here's an email from the big guy.
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just edit that nice, all be smooth.
It'll all be smooth, but I'll leave this context in about us talking about editing it,
Yeah.
so it makes no sense.
Okay. Brilliant.
Perfect.
I think he sent an email here that I think will spur off some good discussion. He says, "Hi guys, love the show," and that's it.
Naturally.
Oh, okay, great.
Cool.
Thanks for your
Right.
email, Adrian.
Short, sweet, done.
That's the next 10 minutes talking about how great we are.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to start?
Well,
I'm pretty damn good.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty fantastic.
Okay. I think I'm gonna be generous. Not generous. Sorry. I'm gonna be humble and rate myself like an A plus.
Mm.
Okay.
Is that too humble, or
yeah.
can I go up a little bit?
I think that's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Let's
All right,
move on.
get back to Adrian's email. This was supposed to be snappy. It's already been 45 minutes.
Okay. I have been reflecting on my own relationship with reading and how in the last decade my intake of reading has reduced to almost zero.
Mm.
I started to ask myself why that is, and the answer I came to was threefold. Firstly, finding time to read in a busy schedule is hard. Secondly, reading is isolating and requires focus, which doesn't work with a large family. And finally, I think the ruse of the smartphone. I think the ruse. I think he made a mistake there. I think the ruse, if the smartphone has changed how we handle boredom. I think we know what he means.
Okay.
Let me elaborate. When I was younger and you were going on a train ride or waiting for the doctor, I would read a book. Nowadays, if I'm bored, I scroll social media or watch Netflix on my phone. My question is, do you think with modern technology and lifestyle pressures, the place of books is becoming replaced by other mediums? Thanks, your loyal listener and friend, Adrian. Good question, Adrian.
Very interesting thoughts on that. Okay, so first point. What was the first point?
First point. Let me bring up the email again. Exactly. This is the problem. Our attention spans are getting so short. We can't
I'm pretty sure I have
remember.
undiagnosed ADHD, and the older I get, the worse it gets. So can't retain any.
Okay, finding the time to read in a busy schedule is hard. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so first of all, with that, yes,
Yep.
that's true. We're all older, we have more pressures. So, us three in particular, and Adrian as well,
Yep.
all married,
Yep.
all with children who are like either primary school age or high school age or a combination of both,
Yep.
full-time jobs, pressure of
Yep.
mortgage and everything else.
Yes.
So,
As the great Freddie Mercury and David Bowie said, we are under pressure.
I was about to say, I want to break free. No, hang on.
We are under pressure. Those are the exact lyrics.
Oh no, we've just
don't look them up.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, we are all definitely under pressure. Yeah.
Yes, under pressure. That is definitely true. We don't have the same freedoms that we had when we were in high school or university, where we could take the time to, have the simple pleasures of reading or whatever it is else that we did as well. Point 2 was in relation to train
Isolating.
Isolating, yes.
Reading is isolating.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from with that point. I don't think I really feel that way about it, though.
I don't know if, and Adrian can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he meant isolating as in...
It isolates you, and you have to be isolating yourself in order to read.
Yeah. I guess.
In a way.
I mean, it's one of those things where I personally feel like it's important to be able to have time for yourself. Like as a mother, as a parent, as a wife, as a friend, as a person, like you can't just pour all of yourself 100% of the time into other people.
No.
Because you lose something of yourself. And that's the reason why it's still important to have hobbies and interests and things for yourself, so that, I don't want to sound like I'm shaming anyone who does do that, though, because obviously there are people out there who are the type of people who want to give all of themselves to their families, for example. And I've known people like that. That's fair. That's how you live your life. Excellent. I'm not here to judge. Personally, for myself, is what I'm saying, is that I would still like to have something that is me, part for myself. And if that means I'm going to go and sit in my room for half an hour and read a book or do something else, then that's what I would like to do. And I think also, in terms of what Adrian is saying, it's hard to do that because you might have to devote that additional time to something else, to a different task, to some other part of your brain that you won't be able to devote to reading a story or listening to a story.
There's also, and I'll attest to this personally, there are people who think when you crack open a book, you're not doing anything. So it's the perfect time then to engage you in a conversation. And I know there are people in my life who will see me open a book and go, "Oh, I'll start a conversation with him now. He's not doing anything." And so you're not reading any longer. And it's like, well, so yeah, you do need that time to be alone too. And when your lifestyle is so hectic, Adrian has a massive family. He's got a lot of responsibilities going around.
Yeah.
And so when you do have that 15 minutes of, that's when people go, "Oh, they're free. Talk to them now." What?
And sometimes you don't even want to read a book. Sometimes you just want to stare into space. It's like, please just let me indulge myself in this silence.
Just sit there on the edge of the bed.
I used to work, I won't say where. I didn't like working in the place that I'm thinking of where I used to work. And I would bring a book. This was before smartphones, basically. So this was before you would be glued to your smartphone at lunchtime, scrolling wherever. And I would bring books to work and I would read at work. And I remember I would read in the lunchroom and people would be in the lunchroom at the same time as me. And there would be some very obnoxious people like, "What are you doing? Why are you reading? Why would you bother reading that?" I remember one time I was reading Lord of the Rings and that's a really old book. It's like, yeah, I know, I love it. I've read it like 3 times. It's like my 4th time reading it. Why would you read it again if you've already read it before? I'm like, I don't know, because it's good. Go away, annoying
Because
person.
fuck you. That's why.
Was this
Throw the
before the
book at them.
Was this before the movies?
No, it was after the movies. The movies
Okay.
came out when I was in high school. And I didn't start working until after I finished high
Okay,
school.
fair enough.
Yeah, and that's why I started reading on the balcony by myself, so I can appreciate wanting to be isolated to read a story.
Which I think the idea of reading in your lunch break rolls in nicely into Adrian's third point there. That time filler that we used to read to fill time. I used to read myself on the way to work when I used to catch the train to work or on my lunch breaks.
Yep.
But lunch breaks aren't so much of a thing in a lot of places anymore.
No, not a lot. I'm lucky and privileged that I do have a lunch break now, but I tend to spend my lunch break eating my lunch and then going for a walk around the city because like I need to get out and actually walk and stretch my legs and exercise. But yeah, I was definitely, I would bring a book on the train and read on the train or something like that. But nowadays it's okay, well now I will catch up watching stuff on, like, you know, as you said, Netflix, or watch Neighbours on my phone
Oh
on
my
the
God.
way to work. Or I'll listen to podcasts now. So I'm definitely very much in the realm of Adrian, where in the last few years, especially when had more children, the reading went out the window and it was becoming almost addicted to social media and like watching stuff on my phone, reading stuff on my phone, going down rabbit holes with the news, which I try not to do now. And actually now that since I've stopped reading news on my phone, I spend a little bit more time pushing myself to read books now. So it's really been in the last 12 months that I've actually gotten back to reading properly again and forcing myself to have that time. And it's terrible to say forcing, like to force myself to read, but like I used to read voraciously and then it just in the last few years basically stopped and would barely get through one book a year, which is terrible. So
Yes, it definitely, and I think you have to remember too that the social media apps are designed to keep you on them,
Absolutely.
and they are
Absolutely they are.
designed to be addictive. I have always found myself, especially lately, just mindlessly scrolling through TikTok or Instagram Reels or Facebook. What do they call it on Facebook? They're Reels on Facebook.
They're
Reels on
reels. That's
Facebook.
the same thing, yeah.
I don't watch
YouTube
Reels,
Shorts,
actually.
whatever I'm on, and it's really hard to even do work or anything without some sort of video playing in the background. For some reason, music doesn't do it for me. Like it's got to be someone talking. But even a podcast won't do that. It's got to be like a YouTube video.
Oh, okay.
Which is it's weird for me. I don't know why that is. Maybe some scientist out there can tell me.
That could be part of your ADHD as well, where that's something that helps to calm your mind.
Yeah, it just stimulates whatever part of the brain that is.
And it's important to note that for people who have neurodivergencies, we need to try and destigmatize the idea of people wasting time on the internet, because it might be a grounding thing for them, or it might be something that helps to stimulate their brain so that they can actually complete another task. The idea of, oh, well, you're just being lazy and you're focusing on that instead of doing what you should be doing is bad. Like it's really important that we separate that. I think we're starting to get away a little bit from what Adrian's pointing out, perhaps there.
So yeah, to pull back on the topic, what he was saying, yeah, social media is designed to keep you engaged. That's the ultimate thing. It depends that it is, unfortunately, that if your goal is to read, and like you said, Eloise, sometimes you have to force yourself back into that habit. You're essentially breaking one habit and trying to reestablish another one. And I went through a similar thing many years ago. Like I wanted to read books and I would buy books that I want to read, and then I'd get 100 pages into it and realize that I hadn't touched it in a month. It was sitting on my bedside table and hadn't touched it in a month. And what I realized what I was doing is scrolling mindlessly through my phone for half an hour before bed. So what I did to break out of that, and this might work for some people and this may not work for others, is I actually went out and bought myself a Kindle. And now not everyone can do that because, there is a cost involved. But I found the Kindle and picking that up just before I went to bed really helped because there is nothing you can do on that device except read. That is literally what it is designed for. So I had no choice but to read.
It's almost like giving up smoking and having those like plastic cigarette nicotine things that you still keep between your fingers so that you feel like you've got a cigarette, but it's like one of those anti-smoking things that helps to wean you off whatever it is. I don't know if I'm explaining that very correctly, but it seems like you've gone from one tablet device to another tablet device, but this one is helping you actually do something, like I'm going to say productive in inverted commas there.
Reading I think is definitely productive.
Yes, certainly from like not doing doom scrolling on Facebook. And I don't know why, like I still sometimes spend so much time on Facebook because I'm really trying to get off Facebook. Like I'll just post every now and then. Most of my posts are actually on Instagram that just transfer over. But like no one's on Facebook anymore. All you get now is just crap ads, memes that are coming from the algorithms of the things that the Facebook thinks you like. No one's actually on Facebook saying anything and no one's having conversations anymore. So there's no point to be on there anymore, except to follow our podcast Facebook page.
Yeah, definitely follow us.
Like and subscribe.
I think that what you're talking about, the Kindle, kind of gives me an interesting thought with the idea. I don't think it's the rise of the smartphone or smart devices that's killing reading, because when you look at it, they actually allow us to access books in a variety of ways. Like with the Kindle, being able to read electronically, you can store, or my iPad, I can store hundreds of books on that. There's audio books that you can listen to on your smartphone or on your iPad or on this or on that. So I don't think it's necessarily the smart devices that are doing this. What I think it is that for a lot of us now, there's insane pressure, absolutely insane pressure in our day-to-day lives to earn money, to work our jobs, to raise our families, to do all this. And we do get maybe 15 minutes a day to ourselves. And I, for one, when I read, I like to involve myself in the book. And whether people realize it or not, it takes brain power to read. And sometimes you're just too exhausted. It doesn't take brain power to scroll Instagram or Reddit. And if I've got 5 or 10 minutes, I'm not going to pick up a book and read because I want to involve myself in the world of the book. I'm going to pick up something that I can do for 5 or 10 minutes, which is scroll Instagram or whatever it might be. So I think it's less about the devices that are causing this culture of people not reading. I think it's the insane pressures from the outside. And then you've got these social media apps that have gone, we know if we do this, we're going to take that entire 10 or 15 minutes of your time. And so, like you said, they very specifically are designed to keep you there, to keep you scrolling, to keep you moving without really using any brain power. And sometimes you can doom scroll for an hour and go, oh shit, what have I done?
We've all done it.
You know,
yeah, and that's the thing. We're talking about all this stuff, but we are no better than anyone else. We have all
goodness,
doom scrolled.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll think, I've got 10 minutes. I'm not going to read right now. I'm too tired. I'll just flick open Reddit or Instagram. And 2 hours later, I'm like, oh shit, I need to go to bed.
See, this is why the only reason why I'm on Reddit is to follow Good Omens After Dark. That's all I'm there for. Ooh, look at this lovely pornography.
Yep.
So bad.
I will say that I also don't want to demonize doom scrolling, because if you've had a rough day where everything's gone wrong, sometimes that is what you need just to recenter yourself, is to just zone out.
Oh, exactly.
For an hour or two.
I
don't need to use my brain to do it.
And that's as well. I'd like to know.
Doom scrolling?
Yeah, how would you define doom scrolling specifically?
For me, I don't know if there's an. I'm sure there is an actual definition. For me, doom scrolling is just scrolling through with no purpose. You're not watching. You're not like searching a YouTube for a specific YouTube video, or you're not searching a specific thing. You just start scrolling, and whatever comes up comes up.
Okay. So in terms of when we say doom, it's not in terms of where we're looking for things that make us feel bad or feel scared. It's not like, oh no, all of this
No,
horror.
no.
It's just you've gotten into a pattern of scrolling and you can't stop.
And it's a
essentially.
uselessness. And I think
Yes.
it's also because it's social media, what you see is 30 seconds of a person's life, and they're
Mm.
going to make those 30 seconds look like the best thing you've ever seen,
Mhm.
because that then gets you to follow them.
Yep.
Yes.
And so you often leave a social media doom scrolling session going, fuck, what's wrong with my life? Everyone else is doing
Yep.
great things.
Yeah.
So
Whereas
I think
everyone
that
else has
enters
like spent
into the title as
4
well.
hours
Yep.
posting a bunch of stuff that doesn't
But
reflect what their life is.
Also into that, you have to consider the rage baiters that will
Yes.
go out of there, purposely do things that they know will piss you off, because that will give you engagement. And if there is a 30-second video that makes you angry, the algorithm goes, oh, you engaged for that entire video, I'm going to show you more like that.
This is why I don't
Brian
watch
George does a great couple of videos on that, by the way. Watch
Yeah.
those.
Yes.
Yep.
This is why I don't watch reels and why I don't read the comments.
And all
Oh,
this,
never read the comments.
No.
yeah,
Oh, goodness, no.
Unless they're
Yeah.
funny. Like sometimes, so I have a friend
Yeah.
who's been sending me stuff and there's like, read the comments, and the comments are quite hilarious actually.
Yeah.
So
I
have
mean,
someone else tell you if the comments are okay to read.
I looked at this just today. The Comic-Con's going on in the US, and they had the big announcement with the Marvel. Do you guys know about the big announcement with the new Avengers movies?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you shared
Yes,
it.
I
with
did
us.
share. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the
Do
same
our
page.
listeners know though?
If you didn't see the announcements and you're into Marvel movies and you about the new Avengers movies, skip forward like 30 seconds. Okay, so Robert Downey Jr. was announced he's returned to the MCU as Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom.
I got really excited.
That's pretty exciting.
I know, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Immediately went on to some comments, and they're like, oh my God, Marvel is so desperate. Look how they're just pandering to the fans now.
Well, why else would you do it?
Like, oh my gosh. And it's the same thing over and over again. Like, I really need to get off like the television and movie subreddits, because I will watch a movie or watch a TV show and go, that was great. I wonder what everyone else thought. And I go on and it's, oh, I'm wrong for liking that because everyone else apparently hated it.
Exhibit 1, The Acolyte, which frankly is very...
Oh, are we going to get into The Acolyte?
Star Wars. It is a very good Star Wars series. It has awesome lightsaber battles. It is something unique. It is something that hasn't been done before, and yet all people can go about is, oh, fire in space. There's the women's. Like, you know,
I think I
Star Wars
messaged you,
fans,
Eloise. I think I said I thought the Acolyte had the best lightsaber fight since Revenge of the Sith.
It does. Like, people don't hate Star Wars the way Star Wars fans hate Star Wars.
Star Wars fans are the worst Star Wars fans.
But yeah, so like if you were to go on and say the Acolyte is really good, you'd get torn to shreds in you know, the community forums, because for whatever reason people like to hate on it, which is just, what do you want? You don't want the fan service that we got with the sequel movies, but you don't want anything new and unique. Like people going on, oh, it breaks canon. It's like, well, who cares? It's fucking Space Wizards, people. It doesn't matter.
Well, see, the thing...
Ants. We're ants in the universe.
We are. The thing that was pointed out about that is fans don't know what they want until they get it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing to keep in mind, that, yeah, no one knows what they want.
No. Nobody knows what you want.
And we don't have to agree with each other just in order to live in the same society. We don't. Everyone's different. We all like what we like. Get over it. If I don't agree with you, who gives a fuck? Go on with your life. Like, it doesn't matter in the long run.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. So
we got off topic again.
Getting back to Adrian's email.
Yep.
Yes. Like, I don't think phones and social media are responsible specifically for the downfall of reading books?
I don't think I want to clarify. I don't think books and reading are dying.
No.
I think that's a bit of a misnomer. Like you personally may feel like you're struggling to get there. And if other people in your life feel the same thing, then it's almost like could almost be like a confirmation bias.
Mm.
We're like, oh, I'm really struggling to read. My kids aren't reading. My wife isn't reading. I don't know any of my friends that are really into reading. Therefore, everyone is struggling. But I think that there was the panic when e-readers like Kindles first came out, like, oh, this means the death of bookstores. No, bookstores are thriving.
Yeah.
At the moment. I think people are going back to that paper book feeling. And like the Kindle got me back into reading. I barely read on that anymore. I buy the book now. I buy the physical book because I enjoy that feeling of owning the book and collecting them and holding it in my hand and reading.
Yes.
But it took me a while to get back into the habit of that and to start enjoying the process again. And what the social media algorithms do is, that I don't think we've mentioned yet, is they give you that little kick of dopamine.
Yes,
And
that's a lot to do.
TikTok is horrible for it, and I'm a victim of it too.
That's why I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah. It's that little kick of dopamine, whether it's rage bait or something you enjoy, a movie trailer, whatever it is, it gives you that little kick and then you want more. So you keep going and going and going. Books, like he said, I think Julian, you said books require that effort, that conscious effort to go, I'm going to sit down and read. And the book is a much longer payoff that it won't, if you read 5 pages in a book, you're probably not going to get that dopamine kick immediately. And that's what your brain is seeking. And if you want to get back into reading and making a conscious effort to read, it is going to take a while to break that habit. And that's something that you shouldn't feel bad about if you're struggling with it.
And like, it's like any addiction that you're trying to break, any habit that you're trying to break, it takes time and it takes effort and it takes a lot of willpower as well. And I would also say that it's I don't want people to feel bad or like they failed if you don't manage to get back to that point that you want, because you know, like the self-shaming is also something that you can spiral into. So, you know, if you're out there, if you're listening to this and you want to get back into reading and you're really struggling, send us a message and we'll send you encouragements. If you need to send us encouragement, if you need us to send you encouragements to say, hey, how many pages have you read today? Fantastic. Here's clapping emoji for you. We're happy to do that.
One page a day is enough.
Yes.
If that's all you can manage.
How I got through Moby Dick. Yes. 1 page a day. 5 months.
But yes, here's the thing. Here's some ideas that I've seen and what worked for me to get back into reading. If you are struggling and are addicted to social media, like I think all of us are anyway. I know I definitely am. One is, if you can, and I know not everyone can, but the Kindle was a great start for me because it forced me to do nothing but read. Like, put your phone in another room and just take that with you. Getting into it's almost like a ritual. You know, I read my best at night, just before bed. The house is quiet, kids are asleep. It's much harder for me to do that in the middle of the day when there's a lot of stuff going on. Can't focus. But you know, between like 9 o'clock to 10 when I'm getting ready for bed, that is like prime time. So find that time in the day that works for you. It can be 15 minutes, it can be 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. Just take that time and just consciously go, I'm going to sit here and read even just 1 or 2 pages of a book. Great, doesn't matter. The other thing is audiobooks are such a great way to get into it, because I have an hour commute to and from work every day. I've said that before. Audiobooks are really good. Same with podcasts. Like, if you can't afford an Audible subscription, libraries, you can rent out audiobooks. They are free. Also podcasts, there's a lot of readings of public domain works. We know a great one that came on the show a couple of weeks ago. subscribe to her, listen to her. She's doing great work, but there are a heap of others out there too. If you pay for Spotify, if you have a Spotify premium account, you get 15 hours of audiobooks for free every month, I believe it is. And there are plenty of audiobooks that are under that time limit, so you can get through the whole book. And those, I think, are just some steps you can start with to get you back on track.
I'll add to that. For our commuters out there, especially if you're taking the bus or the train and you get a seat, bring a book. Turn your phone onto airplane mode so you can't access the internet and read a book instead. Just get back into that habit.
And I know there are the Kindle apps and other apps on your phone that you can use. The trouble, and me personally, this might not be everyone's experience, I found that if I'm holding the phone, it is so easy to just flick to another app.
Yeah, it really is. Like I've been trying to read Kate Mack's Flamegate series. And like I'm getting through it, but I don't like reading it on my phone because it's such a small format and I feel like it's just taking a lot of time and then it's very easy to flick to other things. So Kate, I am trying to read your book. It's exciting. I'm sorry. I've got other books as well I'm reading. I'm very sorry. Hi, Kate.
We love you, Kate. Another tip just randomly thought of is bring a notebook and pen with you and just try writing yourself. Put your phone away and just write. You can write thoughts, sketch, something like that. But just that idea of getting off digital and back to analog, just to kind of almost like a detox for your brain.
I actually bought myself a notebook literally like 2 weeks ago to start writing down story ideas. Yes, they're filled with Good Omens fan fiction ideas. What of it?
No judgment.
No, thank you.
Plenty of judgment.
Okay,
there we go. Both ends of the spectrum.
Excellent. I love you guys.
Balanced.
Yes. As all things should be. Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
No, I think that's a good place to wrap it up now. Plus, we're going over time. Yes. Julian needs to get going. You know, so, this is supposed to be snappy.
I don't know if we gave Adrian or anyone else out there any help at all, but look at the title of the show.
Yeah.
We're not helpful, so, you know.
But anyway, I hope we have at least spurred some ideas in your brains, and feel free to email in if this has given you ideas, or if you have any other ideas that we missed, or I guess if this just spurred, we're always happy just to have a discussion about whatever.
Yes, we are. All right, so you can join us on the socials by following us on Facebook at We're Not Helpful Podcast or on Instagram at We're Not Helpful Pod. You can email us at Brayton, give us the email address.
It is Eloise. Please remember the email address one of these days at ohmygod.whattheheckiswithyourmemory.com.
I have perimenopause and ADHD. Shut up.
No excuses. We're all dealing with that.
No, you're not.
No excuses. You don't know my journey.
the email address, please.
It is nothelpfulpod@gmail.com.
Thank you. Like, subscribe, rate us on all of the podcast apps as well. I believe if you write us a review and you put 5 stars, then we go to the top of searches. So,
and if all of you do that, then we might bump a space.
Yay.
Or 2 or 3. I don't know how the algorithms work.
No, I don't either. All right. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure as always, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.